Hi, What the Health Techers. I'm Terry Murphy, and I'm going to be your host this week. This is the podcast where we tackle ideas and trending topics and best practice in health and social care. This week is really exciting. I've been waiting for this one because today we've got Hayley Levene, who's the head of marketing at Radar Healthcare. Hi, Hayley.
Hi, thank you.
So, I've got lots of questions for you. I've got lots written down, but we're going to do some off-the-cuff stuff as well.
Okay.
Just a bit about you, really. So, outside of work, you've got two dogs.
I do.
Alfie and Archie.
Archie and Albert.
Archie and Albert.
Yeah.
Sorry, Albert, calling you Alfie. And you kind of like walking. You like the outdoorsy life. What else is really important to you?
I love travelling. I feel like I work to travel.
Right.
My holidays are everything. One of my favourite holidays is America. I want to be a New Yorker, so it's my dream to go and be a VP of marketing in America in like a fashion magazine in New York. That's my dream. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Anywhere else?
I just want to travel the world, to be honest. I really want to go travelling. I never did it after uni, and I kind of wish I had, but life happened.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so just to give us a bit of a feel of who you are, do you want to just talk to us a little bit about your role at Radar? What do you do?
Yeah, so I am the head of marketing at Radar Healthcare. I've been here for now nearly 3 years. And what I really wanted to do was do things a little bit differently. We're a company that's very unique. We have a huge partnership approach with everything we do, and I really wanted to kind of drive that in marketing as well. Show who the people were behind the brand. These days people don't buy products, they buy people. They buy from people and they buy from brands that they're drawn into. And I really wanted to kind of, because it is really special, the company that we work for, I really wanted to kind of get that out there and put us out there as the type of company that is going to work in partnership with you, because we do, and that's really important, and you often don't find that, especially in the kind of the B2B space. You tend to see that marketing, it can sometimes be a little bit dull, a little bit educational, and educational is great, but there's so much more we can do as a company to just work with other organisations and other people.
Brilliant.
So,
yeah. So we worked previously in healthcare.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to embarrass you on the podcast, don't worry.
Why?
But, well, if you want
Feel
me to,
free,
I can. No, so I think if I'm thinking back and I remember my first encounter with you, you were always great at your job. I remember that, and I remember the presentations that you gave when you were kind of a bit hard on yourself as well, and I don't think that went really well. But on a personal perspective, I've really seen you grow into this role, really. It's kind of, it was made for you and then you made it your own. We've got so many more marketing staff now. But I guess my question is, why healthcare? Why was that important?
Do you know what? It's a really strange start. So I've worked for a few different sectors, and I joined healthcare quite a few years ago now from radio. So I used to work for a group of radio stations doing their marketing. So as you can imagine, it was quite a contrast. And when I joined the healthcare sector, I was quite young, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? It's really complicated, and like there's lots of different things to learn. And as you know, the NHS is quite, there's a lot of terms that you just don't understand. And I was thinking, no, this isn't for me. And that was my first week. I was just overwhelmed. Now, having gone through the years and really got to know it, and I could not work anywhere else. I have so much passion for the healthcare sector and what they do and the impact that I can have as well in this. I'm not a doctor, but what I can do is help an organisation to change someone's life and to make a patient experience better, to save someone's life. And that means everything to me. Like, I don't wake up in the morning and think it's a job. I wake up in the morning and think, wow, I'm making a change here. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's, okay. Yeah, I like that. And I guess also what I was thinking about is from a marketing perspective, for example, because I have zero marketing expertise. Well, probably about 1 or 2%. Are you always thinking? Are you always on thinking of new things?
Yeah, literally. It really annoys my partner because when I'm watching the TV, I'll just make comments about things, and like Love Island is on at the moment, and often I'll go, "That's a great sponsorship." Like, that's such a good sponsorship idea. Like, I'm constantly thinking about marketing and branding and how people are perceived. And my partner's always like, do you ever stop thinking about marketing? I'm like, no, I don't. And it's just always on my mind. And I'm always analysing companies.
Yeah.
And when I walk into a bar or I walk into a shop, I'm going, that's a really good sign. Or like, not sure about that one, and there's a spelling mistake there, and I am probably a little bit annoying, but I just love it. I love marketing.
Great. So I'd imagine there are some highs and lows as well, and I guess if you're presenting ideas as well as in terms of this is where we need to be, which leads me to the question, why a podcast? It's so left field for us as an organisation. How did it come about?
So I've been thinking about it for about a year before I decided to go for it. I think, like I said, B2B marketing can sometimes be quite dull. And when you think about IT suppliers, they do white papers and they'll do really long articles, and it can be sometimes just a bit old-fashioned. And what I really wanted to do here was really look at how we can do we're a modern company, we're a modern tech company. How can we think about modern ways to market? How can we interact with our audience in a different way? And I just wanted us to stand out. So with the podcast, obviously podcasts are growing and growing and growing. And I think there's something like 15.9 million listeners actively listening to podcasts in the UK. And the weekly listeners are just going up and up and up. And I thought, do you know what? Why don't we have a go? Like, you know, I looked around the healthcare industry, and there's hardly any. There's a couple out there, but they're not consistent, and they're very focused on different areas. And what I really wanted to do with this was create a space for healthcare professionals across all. You know, I didn't want it to just be, well, we work in risk and patient safety and that's what we're going to do. I wanted it to create this space to be open and have honest conversations about challenges, about what's trending. And my inspiration, I guess, of the podcast actually came from the Stephen Bartlett Diary of a CEO.
Right, yeah.
And I've been listening to that for a while, even before it got popular. And I've always loved it. I really like business style podcasts. And I was listening to an episode one day from the CEO of Ann Summers, and she was talking about her past, and it was quite an emotional episode. And then she started talking about obviously being a woman in that industry, trying to build a business. And she was in a room, and I think all the men sort of turned around and said, well, why would we want to do this? Also, I can't remember the exact scenario, but it was just really inspiring what she said. And I was like, no, I want to inspire people with what we do, because we're a company that is inspirational. Our product is different. Our people are different. Like, you walk in Radar Healthcare and you instantly get that warm feeling of this culture that is so amazing. It just sort of started from there, and started planning it out. How could it look? And we work with a company in Wakefield called Starder Media, and they sort of helped us to really understand how it was all going to work and how we could put it together, what the layout would look like. And obviously you can see the room is really, really nice. It looks great. And we've just built it from there. We've learned a lot along the way. Listeners are going up, and the feedback has just been amazing. And we've just got so much amazing content from it as well. And people enjoy it when they come. People are buzzing. They come out and they're like, oh, I love that. I want to do it again. It's just been really exciting.
Great. It really is amazing. I've got some questions about planning and stuff like that, but you'd said something just now that kind of provoked another question. So you're a senior leader at Radar Healthcare. You're a woman. In what normally is, a male-dominated area. What's that like for you, and what would you say to women listening to this podcast?
It's something I actually feel really passionately about, because I have had my fair share of struggles trying to, being an ambitious woman, trying to get up to the level that I want to be at, trying to, ultimately I would love to be kind of a chief marketing officer in a company. at some point where I'm, a real leader.
Yeah.
And I am a real leader, and absolutely, but it has been a struggle, both from my perspective, I guess, mentally trying to help myself to feel, because I'm younger as well, and I think that also plays a part. You people perceive you as a young girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not a young girl. I'm a strong woman.
Exactly, yeah.
But luckily at Radar Healthcare, I've not actually had any issues, but in other companies I have, and it's like you get derogatory comments. You get, as a woman, if you try and put your foot down and you try and be assertive, you're seen as bossy, or, oh, she's just bossy, she's just being moody. And it's not the case, whereas if a man is assertive, they get respect, and it's something that you really have to work at, and it's really difficult, it's really challenging, and both from a perspective from other people, but also I think you get in your mind sometimes, you think, oh, people I just think I'm a young girl and maybe I shouldn't say that. And I think my advice to anyone that's trying to do that is not to listen to what's in your head, and just go for it and put yourself out there, and you will. And you know what, if someone makes a comment or if someone doesn't respect you, who cares?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you are, and you should believe in yourself, regardless of what other people think. And I just, I say go for it.
Yeah. I asked you that question because I remember when we first met.
Yeah.
And you'd probably agree that you were quite shy and retiring, and now you're this. It's like a metamorphosis from my perspective. Was there a point that changed, or you made a decision to say, up with this, I will not put?
I wouldn't say there was a point. I think it's something I've been working on for a while.
Yeah.
I think, I do think when I moved to Radar, I was almost given this level of trust and respect pretty much instantly.
Yeah. And
almost that gave me the confidence to go, wow, I can give my opinion, and I've given my opinion a lot, and my Paul, the CEO, will probably laugh at this because he often says, she's very opinionated. But to be able to give your opinion in a room full of men, and when I first joined, it was a room full of men, and not be seen as the woman that's just trying to be bossy is just it just gives you that confidence, and it's just grown, I guess. And I think I often say to myself, like, why am I thinking in my head that I'll sound stupid? No one else is thinking that, so why am I thinking that? And it's just a case of you just keep giving yourself a little talk and keep going, and your confidence will grow. And essentially, like at the end of the day, you'll get that confidence to go, I'm going to say what I want to say because I have something good to say and it should be valued. So, That's
great. It's really inspiring and genuinely, and I mean this, it's really lovely to see where you were and where you are now. And for me, I just can't wait to see what the next step is.
Taking over the world.
Taking over the world,
New York fashion.
Yeah, New York fashion. Imagine it. As long as I get an invite, that's fine. So you started the team. It was just you and I think it was it's just you, wasn't it? Yeah. How many have you got now?
10, I think. Yeah, 10 of us now.
In the space of 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that feel?
It's amazing. I've got some amazing people working with me. They all share the same passion, and I'm quite picky when I bring someone into the team because I want someone like-minded, someone that also is going to be passionate every day, that is going to put their all to it. But when it was kind of first me and I first joined, and I had to do everything and everyone wanted something, and it kind of grew slowly, and then I think in the last 6 months it's gone from 3 to 10. So it's been quite fast, but I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of what I'm building, and I'm proud of my team because they're just great, all of them. Yeah, they are a great team, aren't they? Really. And I think that kind of comes down from you as an individual, because following good leaders is the way to go. And I think you kind of instill that drive and determination. And I hear you sometimes talking to them, saying, "Well, you can do this. You can do what you like. You can be who you want to be." Yeah, and that's great.
I could talk about this all day, as you know, but let me ask you some questions about why the podcast, like the planning that goes into it. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, so we've got into a bit of a rhythm now really with it, but the initial planning took quite a while, planning the trailers, the first guests, how it was going to go, what it's going to sound like, and I think it'll keep adapting. In terms of planning, so we usually, like obviously as you know, Radar Healthcare is we're all about partnership. Yeah. So the way marketing actually work with our partners follows that same kind of process. So we like to get people involved, but ask them what they want to showcase as well. So it's not, we don't want people to come on and talk about Radar. We want people to come on and talk about their passion and kind of what they've overcome. And so we will work with a lot of people to try and dig deeper and find out, right, what shall we talk about? What's interesting to our listeners? A lot of planning does go into it. Luckily with Olivia, who's just started with Radar Healthcare, I think it's about 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah. She's really taken on the podcast now, and she's just flying with it. So that's taken a lot of stuff from me, and she's brilliant. And just having that support there, and knowing that all the team are really enjoying working on it, we all sort of come together and plan it. The business as well. We have so many people in the company that really want to get involved, which is amazing. Considering, you are being filmed and it is quite scary. Everyone's like, I want to do it, I want to get involved, and it's great. So we've had a lot of buy-in, which is really nice. Brilliant. Did I answer your question? I think I did.
Yeah, I think you've answered my next 3 questions, but that's fine. What's it like being a guest? This is the first time you've been on that side of the microphone.
I know. I won't lie, I was a bit nervous about switching because I'm always the host, and then, I was thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say? But it's fine. We're just having a chat. I quite like being a guest because I like putting my experience forward as well. I think there's a lot that people can learn from other people, isn't there? So
yeah, definitely. And obviously, apart from this interview, who's been the favourite so far?
I was thinking about this because I thought you might ask me. So I have 2 favourites. So the favourite that I watched was actually the one by Lottie Moore. So she works for Public Policy Projects, and she talks about like the gender gap within healthcare, and I think it came at a really good time because it was the same time that the US had changed the rules around abortion. Yeah. And then she was actually talking about how we shouldn't take women's health for granted, and she's running quite a few roundtables to discuss the challenges that women face. And what it really made me think about was, like, you don't quite realise the difference in the healthcare that you receive as a woman. And it actually surprised me. And I was like, I never realised that there was that big gap. And when obviously the US came out, I was really upset for people in America because I just think it's a disgrace, really. And yes, that was just a really interesting one. My favourite one to host was the very first one with Paul and Lee, where we talked about becoming Radar Healthcare. Yeah, and it was just because it was the first one. I remember being absolutely terrified because I was like, "Oh my God, what if everyone hates it and I sound stupid?" But it went so well, and Paul and Lee were just great, and it was just really interesting. And it's actually been the most popular podcast so far, or one of them. There's another one that has been. And it was I just loved it. I just really enjoyed it. And from that day I thought, this is going to do well.
Brilliant. And that's nice. And I guess there are many, many more to come. Something that will continue for a while. Yeah,
we've got a lot of exciting things planned. So watch this space.
Yeah. And how did you come up with the name? What the HealthTech?
It was really hard. So we all sat in a room, the whole marketing team, and Hannah, our head of people and culture. And we had a load of Post-it notes, and we basically just wrote lots of different words that relate to our industry and what we were trying to do. And we had them all on a whiteboard, and we all kind of then went around, picked out words, put them together, and then kind of all came up with lots of ideas. Yeah. That one. We did put it out to vote as well, actually, to the company. Oh yes,
you did. You've put it company-wide to vote on it.
We wanted people to feel involved, so we asked people to vote, and that was the winner.
Brilliant. That's fantastic. I'm sure I've got lots and lots more questions. I'm just trying to think if there's anything I want to close with that might embarrass you slightly, because I've got you here and you can't go anywhere, or I should just talk about who's coming up next. Well, I tell you what, let's just finish with, so you've been in and around healthcare for a while, and this is a HealthTech podcast. Can you think of any weird and wonderful things that might have happened throughout your career that, you know, might be slightly embarrassing, not necessarily for you, but something that the listeners might have a little chuckle to?
Oh, I've been thinking about this because obviously I ask other people this question.
Yeah.
And it's so, I think the one that I settled on, the example was, so I work in healthcare and I am absolutely terrified of doctors. Like, absolutely terrified. And I once had to go to the hospital for a scan. And it was just a scan on my neck, like nothing like serious or anything like that. And I went into the room and I was shaking and I was like, I just didn't want to be there. And it was a few years ago now. And this guy walked in and I made my mum come with me. You know, I'm nearly 30 years old and I made my mum come with me. Yeah. And she came all the way from Manchester to Leeds, I think it was. No, it was in Bradford. Went to Bradford Royal Infirmary, and this poor man was in the room, and I was like, I need my mum to come in with me, and he was like, oh, we're only allowed one person. And so I was like, okay, and I walked into the room, sat down and burst into tears, and I could not stop crying. He was like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm scared. It was just literally just a scan. Yeah. And he was like, right, is there anything I can do? And he didn't really know what to do because it just was really random. And I was like, can I have my mum in the room? And I was like, I can't believe I'm a grown adult crying in the middle of a hospital asking for my mum when there's literally no reason. So my mum came in and I calmed down, and then he went, I tell you what, we'll just do a quick scan and then you can go. I was like, okay.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, and considering I have to talk to like doctors and go into hospitals for my job, you'd think I wouldn't be that scared, but I don't know what it is. They just scare me.
Strange places. Well, Hayley, look, do you know what? I always enjoy talking to you anyway, but it's been a real pleasure to have you on the show today. Nice to get to know you a little bit better. Sorry if I embarrassed you. We did throw a bit of a curveball, introducing, the powerful women bit, but it's great. Yeah. And we should do that more.
Yeah, definitely.
So thanks a lot. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So that's the end of another great podcast. Next week, we'll have Mark and Julio. They'll be talking about what it's like to be a developer at Radar Healthcare. I'm going to be listening to that because I'm kind of interested. Don't really know what it all means. But suffice to say, if you like the podcast, please subscribe to us and they'll be in your inbox from, I think we're on Spotify, aren't we?
Yeah.
And on iTunes as well?
Yeah.
Great. Get it wherever you can. Just subscribe. And if you want to be a guest and you're in the health tech industry, just drop us a line and we'll have a chat and get you along. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.